Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel for Couples Counseling ATL. I'm Matthew Richardson. I'm one of the clinicians here at Couples Counseling ATL with Mandy Lucido. Say hi, Mandy.
Hello.
And today we are sort of following up on one of the videos that we made in the past about turning towards bids of connection, which is one of the Gottman method couples therapy, 7 principles for making marriage work. The interesting thing is that, I think we covered this a little bit last time, Mandy, that the bids for connection, which is, reaching out, trying to connect, get some sort of positive connection with your partner through attention, empathy, something like that. I know that we've talked about this sort of offline. The clients that we see, our couples, often struggle a little bit with this. And we sort of said we want to do sort of almost a beginner's level, an advanced level, and a master's level of turning towards bids for connection and sort of give some examples of what that looks like.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you painted the picture of what it does look like. It can be as simple as empathy, emotional support, encouragement. It can be just things of, how do I look? It could be, look at my achievements, look what I've done. It's anything where it gives your partner the opportunity to respond, and you're looking for some kind of positive reinforcement there, or some kind of attention, or just kind of joining in together, if you will. So anytime I'm talking about this with my clients, I'm reminded of the Love Lab that Dr. Gottman had in Seattle. And I think back to this couple, and the husband's sitting on the couch and he's watching a football game, and the wife is looking out the window and she says, "There's a bird outside." And he just stays silent. He's just zoned in the game, which I get, right? I mean, the game's the game. I get it. And he's just, he's sitting there zoned in, silent, doesn't even look at her, doesn't even acknowledge that she spoke. And I know that feels really minute. And if you'll remember from our last video, we talk about this emotional bank account. Even if it's just pennies and dimes going into that emotional bank account, it matters. It's a way for you to feel connected as a partner. So he could have turned towards her by actually looking out the window. Now, this was in the 70s, so I don't think they had pause. He couldn't exactly pause the game or anything like that. But he could have said, "I'm in the middle of watching this game. Let me come look at that bird during the commercial break." Or he could have said, "What kind of bird is it? What color?" Showing more interest in asking questions. So that's going to be one of our more kind of beginner level bids for connection. Matthew, does that resonate at all with the clients you work with or in your past relationships?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know last time we sort of talked about the 3 options, right? That Dr. Gottman found that people have when someone makes a bid for connection with them, right? They can turn towards, which is what I heard you describing as, let me get up from the couch and go all the way over and look at the bird out the window, or it can just be saying, "Oh, what type of bird?" Then there's the turn away, is sort of the ignoring, which is what this guy did. And is that the worst thing in the world? No. But it's a real missed opportunity. And as you said, this isn't about an emotional bank account. It's the way that we make deposits into that emotional bank account. And I do always think about it as, this is the same account that you will have to be making withdrawals from whenever you guys are stressed together.
Mm-hmm.
You're driving in traffic, you're trying to get somewhere. It is rush hour. Your partner is being like, "We're gonna be late," and you're like, "I can't make traffic move any quicker." That little moment, you're making a withdrawal from that relational bank account. And so you really got to be able to take all these opportunities when you find them to add as much as you can to that account. The worst thing in the world, of course, that you can do is to turn against. And I can imagine. I definitely have heard, maybe growing up, a certain sort of angry bark from my father of like, "Ugh, the game's on. Don't bother me." And again, it might seem small, but that is turning against. It's communicating to your partner, "I am frustrated. I don't want you to bother me in this moment."
And something about that, like putting someone down, or even the turning away part of the bids for connection, The more that happens, the less likely you are to make that bid for connection.
Right. It's cumulative, right? If it happens every once in a while, we're all human. None of us are perfect all the time. We're tired, we're stressed out, whatever it may be. And I think regular folks will make allowances for their partner.
Mhm.
They'll be like, hey, I get it. You're not in your best shape right now. It's when this happens and sort of starts to become a pattern over time, where over and over and over it happens, you do get that reinforcement. Oh, I'm not going to turn toward. I am not going to make this bid for connection. I'm not going to mention, even though I deeply love birds, even though when I see a downy woodpecker or a red-headed woodpecker or, just a regular old cardinal outside the window, I am not going to share that little bit of joy that I have with my partner, because I've learned when I do, I get a really negative response.
I can't rely on my partner to even join in with me in something so small.
Right. And that's, I talk to my clients all the time about that's trust. The what John Gottman found as sort of the fundamental unit of trust is the answer to the question, will you be there for me when? And it may seem incredibly small to say, will you be there for me when I see a particularly interesting bird? But why not turn in that moment toward?
Yeah, consistency, or being able to be reliable as a partner.
So that's the beginner level of, sort of bids for connection. What have you found to be sort of maybe a more advanced level of bids for connection? Like this is the thing that my clients do. I hear a lot. What happens if I can't turn toward?
Yeah, that's a huge thing that I think some of my same couples struggle with when it comes to, like, if we're using the game example, right? Let's say it's the championship game. You've been looking forward to it all week. Of course, you're not wanting to divert your attention to talk about your partner's work that you could have talked about any other day, right? Although that is important to them, and you recognize that that's important. So how can we do a postponing of that turning towards that still shows your partner, I hear you, I care about you, I know that that's important, and I can't meet you where you're at right in this moment. Can we wait until after the game to talk about that? Can we talk about this later? And maybe, Matthew, maybe you can join me in a role play so we can kind of paint a picture of what this looks like.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was at the store and
Hey, honey. I have to ask you something about the kids next week.
Yeah, okay. So if I was just ignoring him like that, that would be me turning away from him. So here's a way. This is what it would look like if I was turning against him. Yeah, Mom, I'm just watching the kids today.
Hey, honey, quick question about the kids. Something about the logistics next week.
You see that I'm on the phone right now? I really don't have time for this. Sorry, Mom. So that would be turning against the big person.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
Does not feel good.
Sorry about that. And then lastly, let's talk about postponing that turning towards. Yeah.
Hey, honey. Wanted to ask you a question about dinner. Getting it ready.
Hey, is it okay? This is actually my boss. I'm going to finish up this phone call, but then we can plan dinner in a second. Is that all right?
Yeah. No urgency.
Okay, thanks. And scene.
Oh, beautiful.
So
Oscar worthy.
So turning towards and even if you got to postpone it, that's okay. It's just being able to recognize this is a chance for me to still show my partner that I care, even if I can't show them the attention, give them the emotional support that they need right in this moment. It's a really big point to that.
I know that there is I know that when I maybe hear that, like, oh, they turned toward their partner 86% of the time, the image that pops into my head is of like this overeager puppy whose like entire world is just like, you are my entire world. I just want you. The light of my life turns on when you pay attention to me. We're not actually advocating for that. I mean, there have to be times when, like, let us take this into the real world and be realistic. Like, you're not always going to be able to be there for your partner. there will be times that you're on the phone with your boss, or this is a scheduled phone call, or you're on a work trip, or the kids need you more right now, or any number of other things. It's about finding that opportunity to turn toward, even when it's difficult, even if you can't give your partner exactly what they need in that moment. How do I give you a little bit and communicate that I still want to know what's going on with you? How do I still turn toward in that moment? Do you feel like this sort of brings us to the sort of, I don't know, almost master level of when our needs and our bids for connections maybe actually conflict?
Great point. And I think that is oftentimes what brings couples in to even see us, Matthew, is when they're both trying to advocate for those needs and it feels like they are just hitting a wall, that there is no give. My needs aren't being considered. My partner only cares about their needs, or they're prioritizing their needs over mine. So I think with sex, this could be a really, really good example of one of those kind of master level bids for connection that you have to be able to recognize. So let's say I'm initiating sex with my partner and I'm in the mood. I'm trying to kind of put the moves on my partner. And for whatever reason, they're not feeling it that day. It doesn't even really matter the reason, but maybe they're tired, but maybe they had a long day at work. Maybe they're just not feeling good or just feeling up to it tonight, whatever it might be, right? The reason really doesn't matter. There is kind of a two-part to this though. Although that partner does have the option to turn towards, away, or against the bid for connection around sex, for me, I've often struggled in advocating for my needs, for saying no. And so for me to actually be turning away, or rather postponing that bid for connection to turn towards, like, hey, I really am not in the mood for this tonight. Is there any way we can do this tomorrow or in the morning? That can feel so much more gentle than just straight up no, or just giving in. That's not going to be good for the emotional bank account in the relationship either. On the flip side, though, my partner then has the opportunity to respond with my bid for connection, for empathy, and around the emotional support of actually advocating for my needs. If they responded with just like the silent treatment after that would be really hurtful, or groaning because they're not getting what they want kind of thing. So that can be really disheartening and can be even more damaging to that emotional bank account. It'll be deficits off of there. Any thoughts around that, Matthew?
I mean, I think this really what I hear you saying really resonates with me, because this is especially around sex is one of those areas that I hear regularly from my couples, that there's a weird combination of turning towards and turning away, and that there is often our needs or our desires are at odds, and like you're trying to make the move on your partner and they turn you down. Like, how does that not feel like a rejection? How could you possibly come out of that feeling any sort of goodness? And the answer really is about, like, are you looking for those ways that even in the midst of your own feelings or your own needs going unmet, at least temporarily, that you are, turning toward as much as you can? Now, I will say this is one of those things that I think often as you said, brings folks in to see us, at this sort of master level of turning towards bids for connection. I think it is hard to figure out exactly what is a bid, how to respond, how do I turn toward, even when I'm saying no, or setting my own boundary or something like that. And if you find yourself running into this issue over and over and over again in your relationships, I would sort of recommend coming in, finding a couples counselor that is trained in sort of the Gottman method, and being able to say, hey, we find ourselves at loggerheads or in direct opposition pretty frequently around this thing. Help us figure out, how do we turn toward even in those moments where we are feeling as though we cannot give our partner what they want. And that's what we do. That's our job every single day. So thanks for talking with me about this.
Yeah, thank you.